Hello everybody, welcome to Moment of Clarity. So you remember the Keystone pipeline? You remember that giant pipeline they were putting in through half of America? It was going through, North and South Dakota for one, and people were talking about it was going to bring dirty tar sands oil down through America, and then all these people stood up and said, fuck you, fuck your oil, fuck putting this shit through our yards and our land, and there were months of fighting it, and the company TransCanada said, what? It is wonderful. It's good for you to have the oil pipeline through the ground. It's good. It's gonna be good. And then they sent out militarized police to help the people understand how great it was gonna be. Do you remember that? And then they shot people with rubber bullets. They sent out vicious dogs and had the dogs bite unarmed human beings that were trying to protect their land. Do you remember maybe that footage? Do you remember journalists being shot with rubber bullets? Do you remember people being arrested and held in cages like they were animals because they were trying to protect their yards, their lawns, their land, their water supply, especially their water supply? Do you remember all that going on? Yeah, well, there's been many leaks from that pipeline that ultimately did go through, and now the Keystone pipeline has leaked an estimated 383,000 gallons, 1.4 million liters of oil in northeastern North Dakota, state regulators say. 383,000 gallons of oil dumped into the land and water supplies of that area, of the people that were fighting against this, of the people in Standing Rock, the people throughout these areas fighting against it, and they were told it will not leak, it's going to be great, it's going to be perfect. This week, Crews on Tuesday shut down the pipeline, so there's your one positive note about all this. Shut down the pipeline, and it carries, like I said, tar sands, so this is the dirtiest, most disgusting type of fuel. This is the worst there is. And by the way, this is not TransCanada anymore. This is TC Energy's Keystone Pipeline. TC Energy. See, TransCanada has changed their name because this is something corporations do when they want to fuck people over. They change their name often to something that sounds even more boring or more confusing so that activists can't continue to malign and hurt the brand of the company. Activists get confused. People that aren't even activists, just reading about it in the newspaper, they start to know the name of a company. Oh, that's that bad company. Oh, Monsanto, I've heard of them. They're bad, right? And then they change it. Bayer buys them up and, gets rid of the name Monsanto, or in this case, TransCanada just changed their name to TC Energy. It's kind of like Blackwater changed their name to XE, and then changed it to Academy. And God knows what they are now. But, you just keep changing your name. It's kind of like it's like a criminal bank robber or something, goes from town to town, new name. That's basically what it is. It's, I love that corporations are learning their kind of business practices from like serial bank robbers or serial murderers, mass murderers. So Donald Trump, as you recall, Donald Trump is the one who ultimately signed off on the Keystone Pipeline. Obama had been about to sign off on it, but the protests, I guess, had maybe scared him in terms of his legacy. And by the way, don't trick yourself into thinking Obama was great on oil. He was fucking awful. Okay, he proudly said he laid more oil pipeline than any other president. It could have encircled the earth 3 times. Okay, so this guy was awful on oil, but the Standing Rock fight had gotten so big that he ultimately did not sign off on the Keystone Pipeline. Trump got into office and then immediately signed it. And, this goes to show there's only a minor difference between the two, the Democratic and Republican Party. The Democrats, this thing had gotten to such a fever pitch nationally that it became eventually politically toxic for the Democrats to not act like they support Standing Rock. And so that's why they ultimately made this slight little change. But in fact, you know, the Democrats and Republicans agree on most oil pipelines, right? Hillary Clinton flew around the world pushing fracking trying to get other countries to want fracking and natural gas. So, you know, because it was beneficial to America to have fracking around the world. So these people are the fucking worst. And yet they run around being like, I had to say no to the Keystone pipeline because I didn't want to hurt the environment. No, they're two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. I don't know, two sides of the same coin. Don't know where my head is at right now. Stuck in corn land out in the Midwest. But, I mean, just to remember what went on with Standing Rock, you had people arrested on their own land. You had, even in Iowa, you had like farmers that didn't want the pipeline to come through their farm because they thought, oh, I don't know, these things might leak. And so they protested and they were arrested on their own farms. And that was more rare to see it did happen, but to see a white farmer arrested on their own farm, because guess what? When TransCanada was deciding where to put this pipeline, they initially were going to put it through more white areas, more slightly wealthier. Not like there's a lot of fucking rich people in North Dakota, but slightly wealthier areas, slightly more middle class, whiter areas. And then they realized, oh, that's politically difficult. Those people have a tiny degree of political power in the community, in the state. So what do? They reroute it through indigenous lands. Because guess what? People of color, indigenous people, black people, they tend to have a lot less political power in this country, and it's easier to exploit them. And this is how you end up with corporate sacrifice zones, areas of the country that are fucking destroyed, and people get cancer at higher rates. And guess who lives there? It is poor people, it is black people, it is indigenous, because it's easier to exploit them. It's easier to fuck them over. And sure enough, that's what they did. They went straight through Standing Rock. And something else, it's another point that should just be made when we see that this is this massive leak. By the way, this leak was the 7th largest onshore oil leak since 2010. So basically in a decade, this is the 7th largest ever on land, 383,000 gallons of oil. But a couple of things you should understand about oil, which I've said before in other videos, is, first of all, these pipelines are always going to leak. There is never going to be a perfect pipeline. It doesn't exist. So when these companies come through and they're dealing with a fight on their hands and they say, don't worry, we're going to keep track of it, it's not going to leak, we're all good, they're full of shit. They cannot guarantee these things won't leak. They always leak. It's just the amount they leak varies from here to here. There are thousands of oil leaks around the country every year. And many of them are so small they're not even reported, but they're not actually small, right? They still destroy the environment, but under our current regulations, they're small. So they don't get reported, or they get reported but ignored for various reasons. They will always leak. Another thing to understand is you can't clean up oil. You can pretend to clean up oil. You can clean up a little bit of the oil, but you can't really clean up oil. So when you see these oil spills in these waterways and Exxon or BP or whatever send their people down there with their fucking paper towels, literally paper towels. They have big paper towels, as if paper towels are do shit, as if you can clean go to a goddamn shoreline and wipe it up. Wipe up the shoreline with your paper towel, with your Bounty Quicker Picker Upper and your Windex on fucking birds. You can't do it, okay? It's minuscule. It's a minuscule impact of cleaning up these oil spills. But they pretend they do it. It's really a show. It's a song and dance to be like, look at us clean the oil. Oh, it's so clean here. They do it song and dance, and it's nothing. The area is destroyed, the animal life, the insect life. In 2017, the pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline, leaked an estimated 407,000 gallons of oil onto farmland in northeastern South Dakota. So that's 407,000 gallons. This current leak is 383,000 gallons. Keep in mind, after Standing Rock, the oil companies, ALEC and everyone else, pushed new laws through many legislatures trying to restrict protest even more, trying to make sure people couldn't protest. Now think, protest is already restricted, right? We saw in Standing Rock, you had militarized police guarding this pipeline, shooting people with rubber bullets. People lost eyes. I think one person lost part of their arm, arresting people, just destroying lives. And that's with protest allowed. That's the okay version of protest, when we just shoot you with rubber bullets. And so then they passed these new laws, and then the one that got shot down recently, thank God, here's some good news, it got shot down. It was a law against riot boosting, is what they called it, which basically meant if you tweet about a protest, if you post on Facebook, hey everybody, look at this protest, you should head on down, this is important, this is for our land. If you were to send that out, then you're riot boosting, and you could be arrested. But luckily, that just lost in court, so it'll be another few months till they actually get that through and signed into law. No, let's not. Let's hope not. Let's hope we continue to be able to tweet our disgust. That's all we're able to do now, is just tweet our disgust. That's what it's come to. Anyway, obviously an issue we got to keep fighting on and try and end these pipelines and fossil fuel use as a whole. Sorry to be riot boosting right now. But, yeah, fuck this. All right, so if you leave a comment, you'll be entered to win a free download of my comedy special at leecampcomedyspecial.com. Every week we announce a few winners for that. You can also go watch some of it for free right now at leecampcomedyspecial.com. That is all. Keep fighting.